Artemus Toast here, and it's time for another underrated and underappreciated, segment for the playlist. Man, nice and smooth. I think I look about 20 years younger. But today's or tonight's video is kind of a in a general sense, and the thing that I feel is underrated and underappreciated, and I'm completely guilty of this, is physical media. And by that, I mean, your CDs, your video games, your books, your magazines, your records, etc. The reason why I feel they're underrated and underappreciated is, unfortunately, a lot of these things are niche, markets. I guess is the, I guess the best way to describe it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love that, all those things I just showed you, plus thousands more, you put on one of these, on a USB thumb drive, or you could have your iPods or your iPads, just filled with music and books and of course, with the interwebs, you could visit websites and many other things. But, I sincerely feel that something's missing, when you have a digital copy of something, or, something's a piece of data on your cell phone or your smartphone, or, a thumb drive, or, on the hard drive of your computer or what have you. There's something, once again, missing by not having a physical version of it, and once again, I'm somewhat of a hypocrite when it comes to stating this, because I'm guilty of all those things. I probably have just as many digital books as I do actual books. Definitely have more MP3s than I have physical copies of songs. And once again, I download most video games, and I guess, maybe magazines, of these various forms of media are still the most, I guess, I don't know the numbers, and I know CDs do sell, but I know that digital copies must sell more by now. It's almost lost. You can't, very rarely can you go to a video store, and because it's so much more convenient to watch it on the Netflix, or order on the Amazons, or the Hulus, the Voodoos, etc. But it's nice to feel, not only to feel physical ownership of something, that have a physical copy that you could touch with your own hands, but there's also, especially in relation to music and books, once again, you're missing something. There's the action of turning a page in a book. I mean, when was the last time you saw a bookmark, or when was the last time you said the word bookmark? When was the last time you folded the page in a book to hold your place? When you could just tap the screen and the app will open to where you last left off. Once again, I'm completely guilty of taking advantage of these things, and I do. I guess what I'm stating is, it's sad that these brick and mortar stores are disappearing. Bookstores are fewer and far between. Even even those places that buy CDs, they're far fewer of them, over the past, 15, 20 years. You know, and I think that's really sad. I mean, obviously people collect records. Some people have to have their physical copy of the video game, but you know, I can't remember the last time I went out and bought a CD. I mean, you know, there's that day that comes around every year. National Record Day or whatever, and definitely take advantage of that to get one-offs or special editions. But I guess what I'm saying, if I want to listen to a lot of different songs by a lot of different artists, yes, it's much easier and less time consuming to use your iTunes or the Pandoras, in the other various forms of streaming media or downloadable media. But I think I've talked about it before in the past, especially when I do my all kinds of awesome trademark album reviews. Is maybe not so much now or less often now, but when you bought a CD or a record or cassette or 8-track, in the past, you listen to it for the most part in a particular order, and that's what I typically like to do with records. Of course, it's if I want to listen to the 3 different songs on 3 different albums, once again, very time consuming. But at least to my magical ears of honey, especially in regards to records that were originally recorded analog. I want that crackle, hiss, and pop of the record. And there's a lot more that comes along with it. I mean, the artwork. You don't get this with a digital copy. You don't get pictures of the band behind the scenes. This is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I'm actually, I'm not on this record cover. I wasn't in town when they were taking these photos, but there's more to it than bytes. It's something tangible that you could hold. You could place somewhere. It's well, I know this is easier. I know that I could put thousands of songs on a USB drive. I know that I could put because they take up less storage space, I could put so many books. I don't even know how many books I have on my iPads. It's just like I said before. I know that magazines are still I guess more prevalent than some of the other forms, but there's some things that you're missing the history. I guess is another thing I'm trying to say. You're missing that time period when that form, when that media came out. For example, this Rolling Stone magazine. I'm a collector of old Rolling Stone magazines, particularly ones. I'm a big fan of the journalist Hunter S. Thompson. So, most of them, involve an article by him. But, this one for me. But this is, June 28th, 1990. This magazine is gonna be 27 years old this year. This is when The Simpsons were new. Newer. I know this year's going to be a 30th anniversary because Simpsons were on the Tracy Ullman show, but as a Fox series, but there's so many things like the ads. It takes you back in time, to when this was new. Same thing with albums. Same thing with a cassette. I guess it takes you back in time. I mean, like this article. I mean, I remember Belle Biv DeVoe in the song Poison, and this is when it was new, Then, I mean, anybody remember Bud Dry? I mean, why ask why? Try Bud Dry. I mean, these are I guess small parts of pop culture history, that once again can't be recreated, in a digital format. You know, Look at this. Summer Music Guide, the late great David Bowie, younger Madonna, and who else we got on there? We got Aerosmith and what was that? Sir Paul McCartney, right there, and man, Converse, Chuck Taylors. Those have been around for, going on 100 years. But I'm kind of worried that over time, a lot of these things are going to be somewhat forgotten. But once again, I guess in summary, in conclusion, I feel that physical forms of media are underrated and underappreciated. For the reasons that I stated previously. They're physical, tangible things that aren't bits of code on a phone. And I'm not, to each their own. And once again, complete hypocrite, because I do take advantage of the convenience, of digital forms of media. But, over the years recently, with all the closings of these brick and mortar stores, these physical stores, it's kind of taken away the human interaction, it's kind of taken away from that excitement of, even recently, using video games as an example, and I'm sure it still happens, but I haven't done it in a long time. There's that, waiting for that midnight release of a video game, where nowadays you just, set your system to record it as soon as the clock strikes, or to download it as soon as the clock strikes midnight. It's awesome, it's convenient, but you can't hold it. And that's why I think physical forms of media are underrated and underappreciated. And Artemus Toast out.